All right, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us for our pop-up Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection network meeting, sparking connections for those with memory loss and their caregivers. If you don't know me, I'm Suzanne Morley, Health Promotion Program Coordinator with the Wisconsin Institute for Healthy Aging. And let's just, before we get started, do a quick intro in the chat, just with your name, anything else you'd like to share, and what are you planting this year? Or what seasonal food are you looking forward to eating? I'm really looking forward to eating and picking some blueberries. That's one thing I've been waiting for. So hopefully in the next couple weeks. I'll just stop for a moment, let those responses come through. I'm actually pretty excited to eat all of the seasonal foods. Farmers market season is pretty much my favorite time of the year.
This is the first time I've done Zoom.
Well, Enid, if you want to share on off mute, that's fine too.
Is mine on mute or off mute? I can't tell.
You're off mute. I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay. Thank you.
Ooh, planting golden beets. I haven't even heard of golden beets. That sounds exciting. Eating cherries. That sounds great. Watermelon. Ooh, planted wildflowers. That's fun. Eating corn on the cob. Rhubarb. Yes, I love rhubarb. That sounds great. Another one for corn on the cob. All of the good summer foods and plants. Fresh peaches, corn on the cob, lots of planting in the garden. Awesome. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining. And the reason that we put together this kind of pop-up webinar outside of our normal schedule is because it's Global Loneliness Awareness Week. So the theme for Global Loneliness Awareness Week is meeting loneliness together. So we wanted to do something to celebrate that and come together. We have a list of events and activities that some of our partners are doing throughout the state on our website. You can see that on the screen. We're really just encouraging us to pick one way. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be extreme, but do one thing during this week to meet loneliness together. So that's why we're here today. We are going to have a few different guest speakers. We'll do some Q&A. Feel free to put questions in the chat throughout, but we'll also have dedicated time for that at the end, and then we will do some wrap up. But before we pass it over to our speakers, I'm going to introduce Michelle Erdman, who is one of the members of the Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection and kind of came up with this idea for the webinar today and the speakers. So Michelle is going to introduce the Spark project and activities. So Michelle, I'll let you take it from here.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today to talk with us. We're excited that you're here, and we're excited to share about this program. So the Spark program is a creative engagement program, and it's really for caregivers, care partners, and their loved ones with memory loss. And this program, if you weren't aware, actually was created in Wisconsin. This is happening in many states across the country now, but in Racine is where this program was originally created. And so here in Green Bay, there's a number of us that work together on other projects, and we knew that the Spark program had happened some years ago just with one of the partners at the Neville Museum. And we decided to explore it further because it seemed like the time was right to come together to try to offer our caregivers and their loved ones with memory loss more options to be able to get out into the community. And as you guys, I'm sure many of you are aware, when you have a loved one at home that does have memory loss or you're caregiving, it can be a very isolating experience. You may not feel like you can go to the same places you always went to before and that kind of thing. And this program really appealed to us because it's helping people get outside of the house and engage in those things that they did before they became caregivers with their loved ones. And so we were excited about it. We decided to explore it. You can go on the next slide. So a couple of things that are included, you really try to offer the program in these settings, museums and galleries or nature centers, different cultural venues across the US. But that's really what we were looking for. So when we put the ask out to our community partners, um, all four of these ladies were more than happy to come forward with their organizations to say, yes, let's talk about this, let's explore it. So what's nice about the program is when they come to do the program, our dementia care specialist worked with all of the organizations to train their staff and their volunteers on how to work with dementia behaviors and what to expect and how to nurture that when you're in the moment. And it helps the caregivers when the caregivers come to do this program with their loved ones. You can see what's happening in the room, and the women will speak to it today, what they've seen happen. But the caregivers can move from being a caregiver to just being the partner and the loved one in the relationship instead of always being a caregiver. And the other nice thing that happens with this too is that caregivers are able to dialogue with one another and get a rapport going with one another. So it's a great program. I'm not going to say too much about the content because I want the ladies to be able to talk about what they've created and what they've seen happen with it. It's not an acronym, too, that last paragraph here. It's not an acronym. It's something that actually happens with care partners. It's a sparking a moment together where they can just be together with their loved one again and move outside of the roles that they've kind of had to begin with each other. So gets them out in the community, less isolation. They can be just with one another and enjoy each other's company again, whether it's a husband, wife, parent, child, friend. It doesn't matter what relationship you're coming with. And so it's a really beautiful thing to see unfold. And then experience wonderful cultural experiences that we have in town. Next slide. So the partners that you're going to hear from today are listed here. So Casa Alba Melanie, the Mulva Cultural Center, the Railroad Museum, and Neville Public Museum. And the ladies will talk about their programs. But what's really unique too is the fact that when we put this program together, we didn't want to compete with one another. We didn't want to have to wrestle for, attendees in each one of the events. So when we do these events, they happen once a month and we rotate the partners. So no one partner is taking more than the other partner and we're all sharing. And that's what the really beautiful thing about this is. It's very unique for this, having everybody come together and share the time and energy. So we're supporting one another and not really competing against each other. So it's really been a beautiful thing to bring to the greater Green Bay area. And we're excited to see it continue. So I'd like the ladies, we can go right into the partners and what they have done and the topics they've shared and what they've learned along the way. I'll turn it over to Claudia now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I'm Claudia Damiani, and I serve as a Director of Exhibits and Education at the Mobile Cultural Center, which is located in De Pere, Wisconsin. And I'm thrilled to be a part of the conversation today, especially about Spark during Global Loneliness Awareness Week. So today I want to share how our Spark program, which is, like Michelle said, a collaboration between multiple organizations, has become a meaningful way to combat isolation and build connections. So we are building connections through art and culture. And this is not only for the participants and their caregivers, but it's also for the organizations that we're doing this together. So, Spark is a cultural engagement program designed for people living with memory loss and their care partners. But one thing I want to add to that too, that it's about engaging in a meaningful way. It's about being joyful and about building connections and creative experiences, which will stimulate conversation and connection. So, next slide, please. Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne. All right. So the very first thing I want to talk about is the programs. And when I was designing the four Spark programs that we're going to do here at the Mobile Culture Center, I chose topics that were hands-on, interactive, and fostered conversation. So I also chose activities that would be accessible for people of all skill level. And the goal being to help people open up and create. If you can, yeah, click. Thank you very much. That's our very first program. It was science and art paper making, and this was on March 17, if I remember correctly. And this is where participants got to make their own sheet of paper. The participants and their care partners, they were able to use their hands, feel the wet pulp, and that's what the photo is there. We can see one of our participants just putting their hands in that vat full of wet pulp and just enjoying that sensory activity and then creating their paper. And on top of that, it was a lot of conversation on science, like how does those fibers stick together? But then we also added the creative part of painting on your sheet of paper with colored pulp, bottles with colored pulp. You can go ahead and click again. Our second program was Abstract Art Kandinsky, and this was on April 11th. And this was in collaboration with our other organization, Casal by Melanie, and it was imparted in Spanish. And participants were able to learn about Vasily Kandinsky, who is considered the father of abstract art. They followed the artist's preference of listening to music while painting and trying to transmit or trying to put their feelings and what they're feeling in the moment on the canvas. So that was very much how Kandinsky did it. So they were able to learn about the artist and do the same thing. And one thing I want to bring up here is that because it was in Spanish, we knew that we were going to get participants. We have a large Hispanic population here in Northeast Wisconsin. So we knew our participants were going to be from the Hispanic population. So we wanted to make it in a way that they would feel comfortable. So it was in Spanish, but also the beverages and the snacks that we had there for them. It was like Mexican sweetbread, horchata, and coffee. And then the music, instead of using classical music, which was what Kandinsky liked to listen to, we put salsa, merengue, and stuff like that. So really being aware of the cultural significance around this program. All right, you can go on ahead and click again. So our next two programs are later this year, and the next one would be photography and photograms. And this one will be on October 20th, and it's going to, we're going to have here at the center a photography exhibition called Hugh Mangum, Where We Find Ourselves. And this is an exhibition that captures a diverse range of individuals across race and class during the Jim Crow era. You can kind of see the right image example of that. And then after that, we're going to go to the classroom and create photograms ourselves. So photograms, a cyanotype, which is an alternative photography technique that creates these beautiful, deep, rich prints that you can see on the left side. So it's really going to be focused on photography, but it's also going to be about discussion and how participants see the photographs from the exhibition and how each person can bring their own unique perspective of that. So again, just like sparking conversation and connection with the art and with other people there. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And then the last one, it will be on November 17th. It will be about space flight. We'll have another exhibition here at the Mobile Culture Center, a bigger one called Life in Space, which focuses on human history and space exploration. So we'll take them through that first area of the exhibit so they can see really what humans have been able to do in space. And then again, that creative component where they'll get to use their hands to create their own version of space and kind of like see what they just learned in the exhibition. I think we can go on ahead for the next slide. So far, we've welcomed 17 participants and care partners to our programs. The first one, the paper making, was about 13 participants. The second one for Kandinsky was 5, and it's kind of within the range of what we're expecting, 5 to 15 participants. It keeps it nice and private, like, small group, more one-on-one attention. The response has been overwhelmingly positive. Caregivers have shared that Spark provides a rare opportunity for their loved ones to actively engage in a meaningful and joyful experience. A few things they have said. So go on ahead, Suzanne. There you go. Perfect. Caregivers have said a few other things. So if you can click. Thank you. This feels like a safe. I think that one's very important. Just like Michelle was saying, sometimes they feel they can't take their loved ones outside, but we really want them to feel that it's a safe space that they can take their loved ones. My father enjoyed his time so much. It was wonderful to see him this way. I'm happy to know that programs like these exist for my husband and me. And I enjoyed speaking to other caregivers. And that's very important because we're trying to combat that isolation that caregivers and care partners might feel. And for them to be able to talk to other people that are in the same boat, let's say, that they have loved ones that are having the memory loss, and sometimes they just need someone else to be able to share their experiences. Now, participants also have had really positive feedback, and they've described the programs as fun and educational. And a few things that they have said is that it reminded me of when I used to work at the paper mill. And that's lovely because it really sparked a memory, which is great. I didn't know I could create like this. I didn't want to come today, but I'm glad I did. When is the next program? And so that just shows you that they're having fun, that they're engaging, and we're combating that loneliness. It's also a reminder that creative engagement isn't a luxury, it's really an essential part of well being. So, one of the reasons that we were able to start our Spark program in Brown County is because of the partnerships with our organizations. So as you know, we've joined forces with Aging and Disability Resource Center of Brown County, as well as the Naval Public Museum, Casa Alba Melanie, National Railroad Museum. And we're doing this to be able to reach more people, offer more varied activities, and share resources. So working together has given us a greater capacity, not just to plan and market events, but to learn from each other and to build a stronger network of support for our community. So this week, as we observe Global Loneliness Awareness Week, it's important to remember that isolation isn't only experienced by individuals, but it could also be experienced by organizations. We could feel isolated because we're working on parallel paths and we're facing similar challenges, but by coming together and working with collaborative programs like Spark, we can remind ourselves that we're not alone. And yeah, and stuff like that. And then Spark isn't just about creative programs projects, it's about dignity, it's about joy and connection. It's about reminding people, whether they're living with memory loss or caring for their loved one, or if it's an organization as well, that everyone is a valued member of this community. So, yeah, it's about reminding ourselves as organizations that we can do together, we can do more together than we can do alone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claudia. That was a great example of collaboration with organizations, people, caregivers, and that feedback from participants and the caregivers is so important. All right, we're going to pass it over to the Neville Public Museum to share about their Spark program.
Hi, I'm Allie. I am the education specialist at the Neville Public Museum. And I'll talk about the programs that we have done and the ones that are upcoming, and then also a little bit more about the collaboration, because as Michelle mentioned a little earlier, the Neville used to do Spark and then stopped doing it, and now we're doing it again. And I want to talk a little bit about how the collaboration between the different organizations has been incredibly helpful in bringing Spark back, and how I think it'll be really great for just maintaining Spark in the future. So far at the museum, we have done 2 Spark programs, and actually our third one is this upcoming Monday, so just a few days. Our first one, it was called Candy Creations, and it was in February, and we had 13 participants. Um, it was really fun. When I designed the Spark programs that we're doing at the Neville, I'm utilizing all of the different exhibits that we have. And as we do the different programs, we're actually moving into the different exhibits. So the very first one was actually in our candy chemistry exhibit specifically, where we did a lot of different sensory activities. A lot of Spark is art making, but also doing different sensory activities. So we like tasted candies, specifically had Saruji's chocolates, which if you're from the Green Bay area, you know that that's a big fan favorite. So we really incorporated a lot of that into the program. And then at the end, the art making was actually making their own little candies out of like moldable clay. And a lot of people had a lot of fun with that too. That was the very first program I had ever done. So it was really fun to see that one and how people reacted to it. And then moving on into the next one. So the one we just did last month was all about music, and we did that in May, and it had 16 participants. Once again, utilizing the exhibits and the museum's collections. And so we actually had the program in our history gallery. So we did our snacks and some of our art making in our mezzanine, but then moved into the history gallery to look at different objects from our collection. And that was also just a lot of fun. It was really interesting to be able to pull different musical instruments from our collection. And a lot of the participants really liked seeing things that looked a little weird that also normally aren't on display. And having that privacy, having a smaller program gives that opportunity to experience some things that you wouldn't normally experience on just a regular museum exhibit, like a museum visit. The next program that we have this upcoming Monday is all about different cultures from Northeastern Wisconsin. And we'll be learning about different cultures of people who have lived here for a long time or who are recently moving into the area. We'll do a lot of different listening activities as well. So once again, incorporating different sensory activities into the program. And then the art making that we'll be doing at the end is actually making our own version of a Hmong story cloth. So part of the Hmong community has really embraced a particular art making project called story cloths, and some of them are really big. They're really beautiful, but it started out in the refugee camps, and it was a really great way to use art to tell a story or to tell history. So we're going to make our own and also use like that textile art to make our own, either sharing a memory or a favorite place that people like to be in their lifetime. So that's the art project that we'll be working on for that one. And then our very final program of the year for us will be in December. Every year at the Neville, we bring out our Prangies exhibit. So that's a really big one that people really enjoy coming just to see that exhibit. If you're not sure about what Prangies is, it's an old department store that people from the region really love. And they were known for doing these elaborate Christmas window displays. And when they went out of business, the Neville and then the Sheboygan Historical Society, each of us got half of the window displays, and they're animatronic and they move. So we recreate what the store did every year, and we just get so many people who come year after year after year because they remember going to Prangies, they wish it still existed. So we'll be doing learning about holiday memories in the area, holiday traditions, and then also making sure to experience that Prangies exhibit, and then make an old-fashioned ornament where you use like the pins to put into like a little ball. So they'll be able to take home their own ornament to hang on their tree, or if they want to keep it on our Bruce the Spruce, because we do have our own tree. Also, as a part of the exhibit, they'll be able to keep the ornament on the tree as well. So we just have some really fun programs that, once again, are really just based on what exhibits that we have or what collections that we have at the museum. So it's all very regionally focused. If you go to the next slide. So the partnership has been absolutely wonderful. Neville previously participated in Spark pre-COVID, and then during COVID kind of fell to the wayside and then never brought it back. There was also some staff turnover. So that was all before me. I actually only just hit my second year mark, my second year anniversary at the Neville last month. So I've been here for 2 years. And immediately when I started at the Neville, I was getting phone calls of people saying, when are you bringing Spark back? They really wanted Spark. The community noticed that it wasn't there anymore and they really wanted it. Unfortunately, I was not left resources or a support system for bringing back Spark on my own. So having this support system and having this collaboration, I really think is taking a proactive step to ensuring that Spark is maintained within our community. There's definitely a need and people really want to attend Spark and they really enjoy it. But it's hard when there's staff turnover at any organization. So having this partnership is really great. If I had had this when I had first started at the Neville, I think Spark programs at the Neville would have been able to get up and running in a lot quicker timeline versus what the timeline that we were on. So also with our staff turnover at the museum, we have a lot more increased engagement within the staff about Spark as well. So I think having that increased engagement and that commitment and making sure that we have this collaboration to ensure we have all of the steps and the support ready to go for if any of us leave or there's staff turnover. I think that's just a really great way to make sure that Spark is continuing in our community, especially since there is that need for it. You could go to the next slide. So with all of our programs, we have had just really, really positive feedback. Everyone has just been really enjoying coming to the programs. It's really positive. Some of the most frequent comments I get from people are about how it's an outlet for them and because they don't get out much. A lot of people I've talked with who come to the program say that the only reason they were leaving the house with their partner before was to go grocery shopping. So it was to do things like run errands. And so by having Spark, it allows them, a place to go where they can go and have fun. And it's not just to do work. It's not just to have an errand. They also like that it is in that more private, like group setting, because then, they're not overwhelmed. There aren't too many people. It's quiet. Specifically at the Neville, we're closed on Mondays when we do the programs. So they have the museum to themselves. We even leave time after the program is done for people to just continue exploring the museum on their own. And we've gotten good feedback from that as well, where they like that they're able to just take their time as needed to explore. People like learning new skills. They like trying new things. And they also really like that we're all collaborating amongst each other. Different participants I've talked to said that they like that each month they get to go to a new institution. I've had some people say, I've never been to the MOBA before. I should check out this program because I just want to see the MOBA. So same thing, we've had people from the Railroad Museum come to the Neville, and we're seeing a lot of those repeat people, and they like that they're able to get to a new place each month, and it gets them to try something new too. So if they haven't been to one of our organizations, then they're able to. So in general, it's just been really great. People really like the collaboration. I really like the collaboration between all of us too. So it's just been a really great, I think, successful program that I think will be able to continue in the future. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ellie. That was going to be one of my questions is if you see participants at each of the 4 locations. So it sounds like you do, which is awesome. And I love your, regional approach, bringing in that store that went out of business that everyone missed and all of the different activities related to that. That's awesome. Turning it over now to the National Railroad Museum.
Perfect. Welcome. Thank you. My name is Emma Lemke. I am the Deputy Director of Education at the National Railroad Museum. And one of the reasons why the Railroad Museum is really involved in Spark and excited to be involved in Spark is because our museum's mission is actually to inspire lifelong learning, and that is through our dynamic displays, it's through the preservation of these railroad objects and our engaging exhibits. And innovative programs. And so we've not had a program like this to reach the specific demographic before. And it's especially hard, like we've mentioned, Allie and Claudia have said, that to getting people out, we provide a safe space for that, and they're free programming. So it's a great opportunity to learn and come to our museum. Our program also helps offer hope to families that are affected with Alzheimer's, because like if you see in our pictures here, you see a lot of intermingling, you see a lot of talking. We get a lot of people just talking about their experiences. When we were together for our first one, we talked a lot about trains, and if you can see in our pictures as well, we are amongst the trains. So we're not actually just talking, we're experiencing it in live, real time, and we can go into them as well. So that is one of the reasons why we have joined as our museum. You can go into the next slide. Okay, So our session topics. So we've actually only done one session so far. So we've done ours. We were the first ones. We did it in January, and we talked about passenger trains in the 1800s. So we talked a lot about steam trains. We talked about how uncomfortable passenger trains were, how they evolved over time to being these five-star type of transportation modes, and then we got to walk through them. So we walked through our one Pullman train car. We got to see, feel, touch everything, experience the life back then, and kind of just take in the atmosphere. It was a lot of just imagining us back in the time. And then afterwards, we did some talking and discussing about that, and we decorated train whistles. So everyone got to decorate a train whistle and take it home, which was really cool. We had some fun stories later about some participants doing it to their animals and scaring their cats. So we got to hear about that later, which was very fun. Our next ones will be in July, August, and September. So we'll have 3 months in a row. We're very excited, especially for the July one, because we're going to talk about holiday train rides. So a little bit of Christmas in July kind of atmosphere. So holiday train rides, whether that be holiday trains, Christmas trains, if you ever had a Christmas train under your Christmas tree when you were growing up, we'll talk about those. We'll also talk about how some freight railroads actually do holiday trains that go through town, decorated all out in Christmas lights, and just kind of what generally holiday spirit means to us. So that'll be our July one. And because we got such a lot of feedback from our first our first session, the biggest feedback was, are we actually going to ever ride a train? Because we have lots of trains here and we walk through them and we see them, but we were actually quite unsure how it would go. We weren't sure in January as well, our trains don't run. So it was a perfect little test run. And because we were told that everyone really wanted to ride the train, we have designed our next ones to all basically include our train ride with it. So we will be taking most of our sessions on the train rides for the next one. We are also we make sure that everyone can be able to access the train. We have wheelchair lifts. And we're very careful and mindful of how we get people on and off our trains. We have a lot of highly trained staff and volunteers that are here to help people with that. So that's our July 21st. Our next one after that will be August 18th for Dining on the Rails. We have 2 dining cars here at the museum that we will get to go into. So we're going to investigate dining cars, and we're also going to talk about eating stops throughout the years, because eating stops have greatly evolved. They were really bad at first, and now they're much better. So we get to talk about that, and we'll talk about good and bad experiences with food if you've ever traveled. So I'm really excited. And then our last one will end on September 15th, and we're going to talk about hobos. We've actually have quite a few people who come to our museum that have interacted with hobos before in the past. And we have a lot of different things around our museum that talks about them. A lot of times hobos are misunderstood. And so we like to talk about them, and we will be doing a lot of projects making like a hobo bandana, learning kind of what it was like to work on the rails and experience life like that. So all of these sessions are really they're centered very heavily around trains. And a lot of times we get people that go, trains, okay, sure. When I'm just talking about it, it sounds like whatever. But once you get here and you're amongst the trains and you're able to experience that, it is a conversation starter. People look at it, they're amazed by it. It's so romantic to see these trains. And it really does help create almost an oddly nostalgic, welcoming atmosphere. And it just kind of takes us back into time while still talking about present situations. So it's a very interesting concept, coming to the museum and still being present, but yet going and talking about the past almost. Okay, next slide, please.
And Emma, before we move on, there is a question in the chat. So you mentioned trained volunteers to help with getting folks in and out of events safely. So Melissa was wondering, what was that training, and how would we look to do something in our community? So they have a medical reserve corps who help with events and response, and this would be excellent to offer. So any feedback on that?
Well, so trains are for our live train rides, trains are very, very big and steep. So we have a lot of volunteers that are help us with special events and with everyday train rides, because it's super easy to miss a step or anything like that. So we'll always have someone at the bottom of the step to watch them up. Most of our stuff have handrails, Unfortunately, some of our steps don't. The trains all do, but our steps don't always have them because sometimes it ruins the trains when they come by. But we definitely make sure that we have volunteers, and they come and they get trained at the start of train season, which is actually in May. That is the start. And we make sure that everyone knows what the proper safety procedures are. We always, for events, talk about safety at the beginning. We're very, very big because trains are very dangerous. So a lot of our programming revolves around how to be safe amongst our trains. And
Can I
how would
just
we?
chime in, Emma, quick?
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're asking Melissa as well about the other training that the ladies have mentioned, but if you have an ADRC in your community, you can check, all of them have a dementia care specialist. And part of the training that we did, different than just safety of the environment at each one of these locations, because that's kind of owned by each organization and how they train their staff for the safety part of things. But the dementia care part of things, communicating, being aware, how you interact with dementia individuals and their loved ones, that's covered by the ADRC and our dementia care specialists. So we went out and trained all the teams at each one of the facilities in that component.
Yes. So when the ADRC came and Heather, the dementia specialist, came here and trained our staff, we actually invited a lot of our regular volunteers because we have quite a few that help out here. And so we had about 10 to 15, 10 volunteers or so who came, and they're the ones that majorly help out with the train rides, the train crew. And they are very front facing. They interact with a lot of visitors, so they actually wanted to be proactive and be a part of our programming here. They very much enjoy talking with people about trains and just learning about different people from different places because we get a lot of people who come from all over the United States and all over the world. All right, so then my last slide. So some of the responses that we've seen, now we've only had one session so far, but we did see a lot of increases in conversations within that session. Whether that be like we talked about, I think it was about the paper mill, people working in the paper mills. A lot about trains and seeing trains in the past, and do we see trains today? It was a lot about that. People were in very good attitudes too. It was a lovely day, even though it was negative degrees outside. It was a warm, comforting atmosphere inside. And we really saw an incredible interest in trains and train history, which is why we got a lot of people asking why weren't we actually riding on a train that day? So that is why we will be riding on train rides in the future with everyone. So it was very, very positive feedback. And also from our volunteers too. We had a couple volunteers. We had one volunteer, his name is Doug, and he came and he dressed up like a conductor for the train ride. And so he interacted with everyone. And his biggest thing was, I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories and just meeting new people. So our volunteers, again, just genuinely love working here and meeting new people and different experiences. So the benefits that we see to this program is it helps our mission focus on our lifelong learning, and it provides the quality of life experiences for others to live in the moment and to create creative expression through trains, which is, again, trains, you don't always think about it like that, but trains are incredibly creative, and it helps us kind of reflect on ourselves a lot in our past and our present. We really genuinely enjoy being part of this coalition, whether that from Casa Alba Melanie, through the Neville, through MOVA, through ADRC. It's been so wonderful working with everyone. And we just really value our community, and we could value our community members, especially those that suffer or are not able to get out and go to these wonderful places. So by providing this free programming and just working together, it is highly beneficial to our community. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks so much, Emma. I love all of the training that was given to staff, and then you also incorporated your volunteers in that, which is super important as they're interacting with people, and excited to hear more in the future about your next 3 events. Thanks for sharing. All right, last but not least, we have Casa Alba Melanie.
Hello, my name is Ami Mendez, and I'm proud to serve here at Casa Alba as the Health Navigator Program Coordinator. Thank you everyone for being here and for allowing us to talk about Spark this afternoon. Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and just talk about why Casa Alba Melanie is involved. And Casa Alba Melanie serves the Latino families in our community, many who are navigating memory loss for the first time, often without any support or resources. One important thing to share about the Latino Hispanic culture is talking openly about memory loss or cognitive changes can feel like taboo at times. Often memory loss is seen simply as a normal part of aging rather than a health issue that deserves attention and care. And then, you know, just being Mexican, I can share, it's something you don't talk about at home, like that's just grandma, and grandma, is aging, and you might not take that in consideration. So bringing Spark is bringing awareness, helping change that perspective, creating a safe space where families can acknowledge these changes openly, and for families to receive that support and in their native language. So our sessions for the participants and caregivers are rooted in culture, respect, and personal storytelling. Okay, and then we can move into the other slide. And then some of the benefits are, community-based referrals, like partnerships with the NEW Community Clinic. They reach out and refer patients directly to our Spark program. So that's really nice to see that we're building that community and the partnerships with the organizations like NEW Community Clinic, ensure early engagement with families navigating memory changes. And then the workshops are facilitated in Spanish and honoring the language and the culture. And we had really good feedback. And back to the Suzanne's question about the participants, if they participate in, if they can come to the different organizations. We have Paul, he shared with us, we met Paul at our collaboration with the Malva, and he said, thank you for allowing me to participate in this program, even though I'm not a Spanish speaker, which Paul does speak a little bit of Spanish, and he has been joining our programming here at Casa Alba. We enjoy having him, and we love that, that the community's coming together. So you don't have to be a Spanish speaker, but the program is taught in Spanish, and that's really cool to see. And then we had Blanca say, I really like this program. It's helping me a lot. And then Maria said, we like coming because we speak our language and share our stories. So that was very nice. And then we can go on to the next slide. And then these are the dates that we have programmed. So we here at Casa Alba have the Spark program every first Monday of the month. So we are running it a little bit different. We have it once a month here. And we're able to do that because it is offered in Spanish. And so that's something very unique. And I have here the dates and then the themes. Here I have a picture of two participants. So January, when we launched the program, we did going to the beach, and they have the props and then the lemonade, and you can see how much they were enjoying that lemonade there in the picture. And so just very fun, engaging program. And then we can go on to the next slide. And then our last workshop was campfire. And we made these really cool lanterns, and they had the LED, the solar LED lights. And inside we had like little fairies and glitter. And it was really fun to make. Everybody you can see is just having a good time, and they were all very focused on putting that glitter. Glitter got everywhere. Participants left with glitter all over themselves, but it was a very good program. It was very fun. And then we have Loteria here on the right. This was in May. And it was very fun too, because a lot of the participants got to share their stories of when they remember, when they were little and they would just come out with the neighborhood kids and play Loteria. And so they were all so happy to be playing Loteria here in the workshop. And it brought back a lot of memories for them of back home. So that was very neat. I don't know if I have another slide. But we're very proud to bring Spark to the Green Bay community through Casalva Melanie, and thank you for supporting these programs like this one. And then we can answer any questions that anyone might have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Super brave to use glitter in a program. So that's awesome. I'm sure you'll be finding glitter for months and months, and the participants will be too. So thank you all for sharing the great programming. I love how it's tailored to Brown County, to your population there, and the collaboration between everyone is super, super important. So we will open it up to Q&A. If there are any questions, feel free to either come off of mute or drop them in the chat. While I'm waiting for it to come through, I do have a question myself. So I saw in the participant numbers, there are some odd numbers. Do you have multiple caregivers coming sometimes with participants? Is that why there's that difference there? I'm seeing some nodding heads.
Yeah, I'll speak for at least for the Neville because I think I had odd numbers for both of mine. Yeah, we get sometimes it's like a father, and their wife and then their daughter will come. So like whoever is the person with dementia, their caregiver might be their spouse, and then a child comes with, and they kind of make it a family outing, which is totally fine with us. It's definitely like it's a fun thing. And I've had one person say that they specifically took off of work so they could go with their parents to a program because they thought it would be fun and something to do with their family. So
awesome. Thank you. I'll ask another question too. Are you guys aware of Spark programs in other communities throughout Wisconsin? I know, Michelle, you said it started in Racine.
Yes. Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah. I mean, some of our training that we did before we launched live, we observed in some of our neighboring cities that were offering Spark. But if any of you are interested in learning more about your communities and if it's even offered close to your community, go on to the Spark website, the state program out of Racine, and they list all of the counties across the entire state and if Spark is in it and what venues that Spark might be hosted at. So they give you a whole rundown through the state. But obviously I'm partial, and I'd like to say when you click on Brown County, you're going to see 4 folks come up, and most counties only have 1 or sometimes none. So it's exciting that Brown County has the opportunity to have so many good partners here. But yep, you can go right on the state site for Spark and you will find by county if they offer something in your area.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll share that link with the recording.
I want to add on to that just a little bit, just because we had really, once again, we have a really great collaboration of really within all of our different organizations. And I think we get really meaningful participation because we do that collaboration. Just talking with some other organizations that do Spark around the state, who all do, or they try to do 12 a year, and they're all nearby organizations. Some of them have said that they do feel like they're competing with one another for participants, and they don't have as many participants for their programs because there's just too many programs going on. So I really like our collaborative approach because the people don't feel necessarily like they have to pick and choose or that we're competing with one another. We really are a partnership. So just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah,
And
working together.
Claudia did drop the link in Claudia put the link in for everyone's benefit.
Awesome.
I think the ladies did a fine job of explaining how impactful it is to caregivers and their loved ones, but it really can't be understated. It is so isolating to be a caregiver. And if you can do any type of program like this to get folks out to be able to experience community life again together, that has such far-reaching impact for support in our communities. So that's why it's one of the reasons why this program is so wonderful, to really help support and lift up people who live with us.
Well, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. Thank you, Michelle, for bringing this idea to light. And thank you, Emma, Allie, Claudia, and Ami for sharing about your experiences and seeing the participant stories and feedback. I think was super impactful. And I'm hoping that this will, lead to more Spark programs throughout the state in collaboration with each other in different communities. Oh, I do see a question in the chat now. So is someone available to speak with a group about statewide programs? I think
Sure,
Michelle,
yeah. Are you asking out of our group, is someone available? Or are you asking, is someone from Spark available to speak to a group?
I think either or. So what I'm thinking about is, so I'm with a family care MCO, and part of the initiative I work on is for community connection. So the reason that I logged on today is because often I hear, well, my person's in a nursing home, my person has dementia, they can't do community connections, right? And there's like this assumption that at some point people just can't do anymore. And I don't think that's the case. And I think that there are a lot of ways to still work with people who have some other barriers. And the fact that you were bringing up, we can bring people who are trained in dementia. We have all of these things specifically for people with memory issues. I'd love to be able to kind of have a targeted discussion about that. So about once a month, I do kind of a roundtable discussion on how to get people connected to the community. So I think this would be kind of a neat topic to share with them and to let them see that these things are all throughout the state, and not just the urban areas, or that there might be ways to get people from more rural areas to some of these events.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think myself, I'd be happy to speak with you further on it, but I also would encourage you to contact your ADRC from your county where you are located, because they would have tremendous resources and individuals then that can meet with you specifically for the region that you cover. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I cover statewide, so.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, yep. So.
Well, whatever you think would be best. I can help cover from our area if you cover the whole state, and I'm sure Suzanne might have ideas of others you can speak to as well.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we could always make that part of the thing. Hey, go to your local ADRCs and learn more. But I was just trying to, some of these ideas that you've shared, I have not heard about before. So, that doesn't mean that the local teams haven't, but maybe it's a good reminder. So, is this deck available to just kind of share some of these things?
Yeah, I will share this out next week with the recording.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, feel free to just reach out. I can always connect you to Michelle, or we can kind of talk offline a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, once I just clicked on the link for the Spark program, so I'll take a look there and see if I can maybe kind of channel my thoughts a little bit more about what we're looking for, and then reach out and see what we could put together.
That sounds great. Email to reach out is on the screen. I didn't see any more questions come through, so we do have a regularly scheduled Wisconsin Coalition for Social Connection Network meeting next week, Tuesday, the 17th at 2 o'clock. So if you're not already registered for that, if it's not on your calendar, you can go ahead and click the link or scan the QR code for that. And again, this recording will be sent out probably with the recording for the June 17th network meeting sometime early next week, but you can always connect via Facebook, via email, on our website in the meantime. So again, really encourage you do something if you haven't already as part of your organization or just personally for Global Loneliness Awareness Week and meet loneliness together. So thanks everyone, and thank you to our speakers. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.